name is Eileen.
And I'm Ava, and welcome to Harping Around. We have an extra fun lineup for you in this episode.
You know how we always say to leave comments and requests down in the comments or to send them to us in an email? We listen. A request for fun sounds that can be made on the harp is a part of this episode.
Also, we have two 2023 featured composers as guests. Emma and our own Eileen worked hard on the compositions, and now they get to share them with the rest of the world.
I caught up with Emma the other day, and you can really learn a lot from talking to a composer about composing. Check it out. Hi, Emma. It's so nice to be able to meet a fellow featured composer before the Summer Institute.
Yes, hi Eileen. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. And you? Is composing coming along good?
Yes, I've been working on my composition and making a little bit of edits after they sent back the feedback.
Awesome. I just finished my edits just the other day.
Oh, yep.
So I've been kind of curious and I've been kind of wondering, I can't wait to hear about the other featured composers too, but how did you get started in composing?
So mostly I just really liked the harp at some point, so then I started playing. And around 2 years in, where I had learned some more techniques, I had started just kind of making my own little tune that I like to listen to. And I would just kind of play improv just in the moment. And then everything I played would never be the same, but that would be kind of the beginning of my composing journey. How about you?
I kind of had a similar-ish start. I started making up songs about as far back as I can remember, even before I learned to play the harp or any other instrument. And then eventually I learned to play the harp, but I didn't know anything about improvising for several years. So I just kind of made up my own little ditties. And then eventually I learned to improvise. And that kind of opened the door for me to be able to truly compose here a few years ago. And ever since then, it has been composing, composing, composing. I can't seem to get enough of it sometimes.
Yep. So why did you decide to enroll in the Young Composers Project?
Ooh, it all started thanks to my teacher. 2 years ago, I mentioned that she had heard about this Young Composers Project at the Harp Society, and well, the deadline is only in a few weeks, but I know you were writing this piece, so just in case you're interested. Well, I kind of have a tendency to wind up in such situations, so I heard that all applicants got feedback on their pieces, like, hey, I would like some feedback on my piece. This is something that I'm still pretty new to. Why not? And I was selected back in 2021.
Congratulations.
And thank you. So it's so nice to be back again. And for this time around, it's like, well, I don't know what the odds are going to be. I'm thrilled with having won once, but it's like, well, once again, I would like some feedback on my work. So I submitted, and apparently the panel really liked this piece too. So, and you said that your teacher got you involved, Emma?
Yes, so I was composing and my teacher mentioned that, hey, there's this thing called the Young Composers Project. And me and some of her other students who we all kind of like composing. So then she was like, oh, I've listened to some of your compositions. I think they're really nice. I think you should try out for this. So then a few months in, I started just trying to make my own song. So for this one, I had started from scratch, and then I eventually ended up with the song that I submitted. And then we waited a very long time. And then I got the email that said, oh, I have been accepted. So now here we are.
Oh, that is great. Yeah, that's such an exciting feeling to get that email.
I was reading it and I was like, oh, so I have been selected.
Oh, yes, that is great. And because we were both selected, we've got an easy way to be able to meet each other now.
Yeah. So can't wait to meet you in LA.
Yes, and meet in person. And the Young Composers Project, I'm finding, is a great way to meet other harpist composers. And even if I had not been selected this year or 2 years ago, I would have seen who did get selected and know, hey, maybe I can try and find a way to find them on the Harp Society's membership directory and maybe see if they want to talk composing sometime.
That would be fun.
So I've done that before, and I plan to do that some more.
Yep. And then the other part I really liked about composing that also kind of dragged me into it was being able to add extended technique.
Ooh,
That
yeah.
sometimes if you're playing a song composed by someone else, you think, oh, this would sound nice here, but you aren't able to because it wasn't composed by you.
Yes.
So that's the other reason I started composing. And then the more songs I played, the more techniques I learned. So here I am, and I would like to show some if that would be okay with you.
Oh, well, certainly. That would be great.
Okay, so the first one that I learned was from a song called Maya's Return by Kim Robinson.
Oh, okay.
So what you do is you take a tuner, like a harp tuner, or anything that basically is a rod that has metal on it. So mine just so happens to have a metal rod here. So what you do is you place it right next to a string. So here I have my C string, and I'm placing it so then the metal rod is touching the string. And what you do is you play the string while the rod is touching it, and then you move it up and down like this. And it creates a funny kind of spiraling effect. So that was one of my favorite ones, and you can do it with basically any note, like say this G. And then you can also do things like, which is basically you're placing the rod between two strings, and then you're just vibrating it right and left. So then it touches both of the strings, and then it sounds like something from a cartoon, actually.
It does maybe like a big outer space scene or something.
And then also recently, well not recently now, but it was for Halloween, I did a composition. So then one of the scary techniques I used was kind of like creaking stairs, where you have your two fingers, and then your pointer finger and your thumb, and then you place it on one of the lower strings, and then you hold on to that string with your two fingers, and you move up and down. And then sometimes you can make it really long, or you can make it really fast, like that. And then the last one, which is also scary, is a lever change while the note is still vibrating. So say I take the G, and then I play it, and then I move the lever up and down to create a kind of sharp effect, I would say. Like going from sharp to natural to sharp to natural to sharp to natural over and over again quickly.
Oh yeah, that is a really cool one and a really fun one to play too.
Yes, it is.
I don't know which is more fun though, playing it or listening to it.
Yes, and I found like a lot of these, like when you're composing scary songs, actually, a lot of techniques you can use to create kind of a very gloomy effect.
Yeah, and especially since most audiences that we would play for aren't familiar with all the cool extra things you can do with them. They just expect plucking, arpeggios, and glissando.
And yep, but actually it's quite diverse.
It really,
You can play
truly,
jazz, you can play classical, you can play basically anything.
yeah. There's even a few rock and roll songs that I really like playing.
Yep. And also some pop as well, like movie themes.
Oh
Quite a
yeah.
few of them I've tried.
Yeah, there are so many options out there. And there are so many options just from the lever harp to the pedal harp. Now, obviously, the pedal harp can't do a lever slide like that, to it's kind of hard to get the up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down sound. But we can do similar with the pedals, although it's a little hard to do it quite the same. It's kind of hard to move the pedal fast.
So that would be you play the note and then you just change the pedal?
Yep, so I'm kind of doing this with my foot as I can. This is kind of like a getting ready before to start running in a race or something.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see if I can do it a little faster with the other foot on another note.
Very cool.
Yeah, and there's one thing that cannot be done on a lever harp with the slide that can be done on a pedal harp is
Oh, because the lever harp, then you would have to tune it.
yeah, I would have to tune it. And I'm not aware of any lever harps existing with 2 rows of levers. Sounds like it would be
I'm sure I remember I was digging into the history of harp, and there were some really weird harps that people tried. That, for example, would let you, it would have a harp, and then there'd be another harp, so then the aerial view would be like a cross.
Ooh, yeah, those X-shaped ones. Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah. And then what other kinds are there? And then eventually, I suppose all of them broke. I think it was because the tension was too much. So
Yeah.
we're sticking with lever and pedal harps of today.
Yes, the harps that are easier to tune.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and writing for each is so interesting, especially like the piece that I submitted for the Young Composers Project. I intentionally wrote where it would work for both. And that was not easy to have everything in there. There's a few accidentals that I was kind of tempted to use that would work well on one, but not the other. It's like, nope, I'm sticking with no accidentals for this piece.
I did that too, with absolutely no accidentals and just sticking with one piece.
Hey, we both did it.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun to compare our scores here at the end.
Yeah. And I'm really excited to be able to meet everyone in person as well.
Yes, it's going to be great. And it's a lot easier to be able to say, hey, have you tried this? With extended tech person. But anyway, another one of my favorites I have not yet been able to squeak into a composition, but I really, really want to, is the xylophone effect. Now, there's a couple of different names for this, but the xylophone effect is kind of how I know it. And I demonstrate on the higher strings, so it's a little easier to see, but it sounds super cool with the low strings too. And it takes a little getting used to, because you take your fingers and place them at the base of the strings, generally with the left hand. The very, very base strings where you're just touching the strings and the eyelets at the same time. It's probably a little easier to see with the right hand here. Then you play with your other hand where it's got this really cool, almost wood-like sound.
Oh, that's very cool. It's like bells almost.
It is. It's kind of a cross between playing close to the table and a harmonic.
Yes.
So I really like doing these on the low strings. They just sound really neat.
Very nice.
If one's arms are long enough to reach those bass wires.
Oh, because you have to go all the way down to the base.
Yes. Kind of like an electric bass.
Yes, it is.
So maybe that would be one that would be good for an arrangement of a rock and roll song.
It would be kind of like having the dance beat in there.
Yeah, maybe like a or something.
Something like that.
Yeah, there can be some pretty crazy sounds in rock and roll, but the harp can do similar stuff. And you don't need an electric harp to be able to do special pedal effects or anything like different pedals and whatnot they have for electric guitars. That's what we got stuff like paper for. Now I'm taking a sheet of printer or computer paper, whichever you like to call it, and folded it up a few times, and you can use a single strip of paper. That's what most harpists use, but each combination sounds different. So what I'm doing is weaving the paper in the strings, and this takes some patience. So you want to have that either all the way through the piece or at the beginning, so that you can then pull it out later. Now I could leave this here and it would sound like this.
Oh, that's very cool.
Or, like what is usually done, slide it down as close as I can to the eyelets.
Oh, so it's like the percussion effect.
Yeah, it really is. It kind of sounds like strumming the snares, the little zigzaggy wires on the bottom of the snare.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And one that's fun is if you got a dramatic piece that you've got this going on, you can
Ooh,
yank, toss it over your
very
shoulder.
fancy.
Yes. Maybe not necessarily something that the audience is not going to chuckle over, but it is pretty cool.
Yeah. As fellow harpists, we all think it's very cool.
Oh, yeah. So that is one technique that I've not yet been able to incorporate into a piece yet either, but I have wondered about squeaky piano benches being a special effect that could be utilized, because that can happen a lot. But are there any special effects and extended techniques that you particularly like to use, Emma?
The most common one I would use is most likely the lever changes while it's still ringing, because it creates kind of an effect where it's off, but it's not quite off because it's still technically a note. But there's just that space between the two notes where it's just like, it's not a note, but it is a note.
Yes.
I find that very cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one that, while I have not been able to incorporate it into a piece yet, I do it a fair amount in improvisations, the xylophone effect, and anything that involves playing towards the bottom of the strings or up towards the very top of the strings as far as I can get without running into the tuning pedal discs or levers, depending on which harp I am playing on.
Yeah.
Because even that sounds different, and it's just a big fun experiment playing around on the harp. The key word is playing. We play an instrument for a reason.
Yeah, and then also what's different is if you play really close to the soundboard, I have to demonstrate with the higher strings, but playing close to the soundboard, in the middle of the string, and all the way up, it all sounds different.
It does. And in one of my pieces, Microbiome, which was selected 2 years ago with the Young Composers Project, I have different notes that are kind of have an enharmonic going on where I play towards the middle of the string sometimes, but when the melody is prominent, I scoop down just a little bit lower on the strings so the melody could shine. And just those little adjustments can make a big difference in any piece. Yeah. I've used that in classical pieces a lot, and while it might not be something that might have been done around the time that these classical pieces were written, like Mozart might.
Nice.
Yeah, but it works. And if anything, it makes those classical pieces even better and really shine in the way that these classical composers meant them to.
Yeah.
As featured composers, Emma and I are going to be at the Summer Institute in Los Angeles, and we'd really like to meet you there if you're going to be there too.
So come by on for some of our open Young Composers Project events, such as the master classes, and please let us know that you saw us on Harping Around. Yeah, so it was really nice talking to you, Eileen.
Well, it was great talking with you too, Emma. I'm looking forward to seeing you in LA.
Yep. Okay, bye.
See you there.
Wow, I really enjoyed hearing everything you both had to say. It was interesting to hear about extended techniques from composers and why you use them when you do.
Well, thank you, Ava. And to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. Join us again for our next episode, where we will be talking about recording and how to make your next harp recording even better.
If you have any comments, suggestions, ideas for future episodes, or if you would like to come on and join us to talk, feel free to leave a comment below or email us at harpingaround@harpsociety.org. See you next time.